better agenda here at home. I just got off the telephone with the leaders in the House. Today, the House of Representatives are making a historic investment. It's going to transform, cut taxes for working for the American economy for long-term growth. When I became president, it was clear that we had to confront an immediate economic crisis, the most significant recession, or at least since Johnson. But that wasn't going to be enough. We also had to make some investments in Americans and America itself. The first thing we did was to write and pass the rescue plan, and it's working. The economy has added 4 million jobs in my first 6 months in office. Growth is up to the fastest it's been, and unemployment is coming down. Right now, our economic growth is leading the world's advanced economies. But to win the future, we need to step. Today, the House of Representatives did just that. Today's vote in the House allowed them to consider my Build Back Better agenda, a broad framework to make housing more affordable, bring down the cost of prescription drugs by giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for drugs, make elder care more affordable, provide 2 years of free universal high-quality community college, provide clean energy tax credits, continue to give families the well-deserved tax cut for daycare deserve, allowing a lot of women to get back to work primarily, and provide significant with children through the child care tax credit. These investments are going to lower out-of-pocket expenses for families and not just give them a little more. In addition, we're going to make long overdue, much basic, hard infrastructure of this nation. This is an area where we have broad bipartisan agreement to invest in our antiquated road systems, broadband, clean energy, making infrastructure to the climate crisis, and so much more. And this is all paid for. Instead of giving every break in the world to corporations and CEOs, by the way, 55 of our largest companies in America, $0 in federal taxes on more than $40 billion in profit last year. We can ask corporations just to pay their fair share. They can still be very wealthy, they can still make a lot of money and to pay their fair share. So we can invest in making our country stronger and more, create jobs and raise wages, and lift up the standard of living for everyone. It is, in my view, we're a step closer to truly investing in the American people, positioning our economy for long-term growth, and building an America that outcomes to the world. My goal is to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not just the top down way of doing. Look, I want to thank Speaker Pelosi, who was masterful in her leadership on this, and Leader Hoyer and Whip Clyburn and Chairman Fazio, the entire House leadership team, for the hard work, dedication to bring people together so we can make a difference in people's lives. I'm in the House who worked so hard for the past few weeks to reach an agreement and who supported the process for a better effort. There were differences, strong points of view. They're always welcome. I think everyone who did that, I think everyone. Look, I also want to thank everyone who voted to support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. You know, advancing, it's an act to expand voting protections, to prevent voting, and to secure the most sacred of American rights, to vote fairly and the right to have your vote counted. The House is active to send this important bill to my desk. And the Senate has to move critical legislation to protect both of those election bills. But let me now turn to Afghanistan. I've met this morning with my counterparts in the G7 as heads of the United Nations, NATO, and the European Union. Thanks for the solidarity we have seen as we've stood up and I updated our partners on the significant progress we made in the past 10. As of this afternoon, we've helped evacuate 70,700 people just since August the 14th, 75,900 people since the end of July. Just in the past 12 hours, another 19 U.S. military flights, 18 C-17s and 1 C-130 carrying approximately 6,400 evacuees, and 31 coalition flights carrying have left Kabul just in the last 12 hours. A total of 50 more flights, 12,000 people since I updated you to the efforts of our brave service women and men, to our diplomats on the ground in Kabul, and to our allies still standing with us. Strong agreement among the leaders about the evacuation mission underway, as well as the need to coordinate our approach to Afghanistan. First, on evacuation, we go out as efficiently and safely as possible. We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. Finish the better. Risk to our troops. But the completion by August 30th, Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport for those who were transferred, no disruptions to our operations. In addition, I've asked the Pentagon and the State Department contingency plans to adjust the timetable should that become necessary. I'm determined to complete our mission, this mission. I'm also mindful of the increasing risks that I've been briefed on and the need to factor those risks in. There are significant challenges that we also have to take into consideration. Starting with the acute and growing risk of an attack by a terrorist group known as ISIS-K, an ISIS affiliate in Afghanistan, which is a sworn enemy of the Taliban as well. Every day we're on the ground is another day we know that ISIS-K is seeking to target the airport and attack both U.S. and allied forces and innocent civilians. Additionally, thus far, the Taliban have been taking steps to work with us so we can get our people out. But it's a tenuous situation. We're already had some gunfighting break out. We run a serious risk of it breaking down as time goes on. Second, the G7 leaders and the leaders of the EU, NATO, and the UN all agree on our approach to the Taliban. We agreed the legitimacy of any future government depends on the approach it now takes to uphold international obligations, including to prevent Afghanistan from being used for terrorism. And we agreed that none of us are going to take the Taliban's word for it. Judge them by their actions moving forward in response to the Taliban's behavior. At the same time, we renewed our humanitarian commitment and supported a proposal by the Secretary General Guterres in response with unfettered access in Afghanistan. Third, we talked about our mutual obligation to support refugees and evacuees currently fleeing Afghanistan. The States will be a leader in these efforts, and we'll look to the international community and to our partners to do the same. We're already seeing our allies' commitment to countries, the Afghans who served alongside their forces as translators or in their embassies, just as we're bringing you the Afghans who worked alongside our forces and diplomats. We're continuing that effort. We're conducting thorough security screening in the intermediate stops they're making for anyone who is not a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident of the United States. Anyone arriving in the United States will have undergone a background check. And and we must all work together to settle thousands of Afghans who ultimately qualify for refugee status. The United States will do our part, and we are already working closely with refugees to rebuild a system that was purposely destroyed by my predecessor. Finally, we agreed to stay vigilant against terrorist threats that have metastasized around the world. We went to Afghanistan with our allies in 2001 for clear reasons. One, the people who attacked us on 9/11 and to get Osama bin Laden. And Afghanistan was not used again as a base from which to attack the United States or our allies. We achieved that objective. We delivered justice to bin Laden more than a decade ago. But the current environment looks very different in 2001. And we have to meet the challenges we face today. Around the world, where we know terrorism is more of a threat than it is today in Afghanistan, without on the ground. And we can and will do the same thing with our over-the-horizon counterterrorism capability. Cooperation with our closest partners on our enduring counterterrorism mission will continue to be an essential strategy. In short, we all day that we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder in Afghanistan, just as we have for the past 20 years. We're acting in consultation and cooperation with our fellow democracies. And I want our allies and partners. We ended the conversation today by a clear statement on all of our parts. We are going to stay united, locked at the hip in terms of what we have to do. We'll get that done. And tomorrow, I've asked Secretary Blinken to give you an update and a detailed report on exactly how many Americans are still in Afghanistan, how many our projection is. So thank you again. May God bless you, and may God protect our diplomats and all those in harm's way. Thank you.
Can you guarantee every American will be out before the troops leave?
Sanctions,
Can you guarantee?
did sanctions come up at all in the G7 meeting?
We have a travel photo with? Yeah.
That's funny, you can always count on.
I think you bumped by one steal today. Oh, that's awesome. You guys are getting great.